Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. We have a pretty interesting show for you tonight. John Cornette has called in sick, but we're going to go out on a John Cornette song. We have our Hemp News segment. We've got lots of videos, some featuring Jack Herer and John Trudell, others featuring Carolyn Garcia, otherwise known as Mountain Girl. We even have another video of Todd McArea if we can get back to it. But as usual, we're going to start out with our infamous dancing cannabis leaves.
I feel the force.
Cannabis is legal here in Oregon, Washington, California, Alaska, and 7 other states. But in the eyes of the federal government, a business selling it is just a giant drug trafficker. At least that's what U.S. Tax Court Judge Mark Holmes of Washington, D.C. said this week in the case of Oakland's Harborside, one of the country's oldest and largest dispensaries, as the company tries to figure out how much it should pay in taxes. Nearly 2 years after legalization in California, 4 years after legalization here in Oregon, and 6 years after legalization in Washington and Colorado, cannabis businesses still face costly hurdles because of the federal law that criminalizes marijuana possession, use, and cultivation. Companies can't deduct all their business expenses on tax returns, and some can't use mainstream banks, resorting instead to credit unions or even armored trucks full of cash. Me personally, even though I haven't sold marijuana, I've had my bank accounts closed 19 different times. Just one time alone, I had 23 bank accounts closed, half of them political accounts for our marijuana legalization effort. A quarter of them were my personal accounts and a quarter of them were business accounts. But I've been through 19 different bank closures since 2017. In almost every case, they say, we can't tell you why we're closing your account. In 2 cases, they said, oh, it's because you're in the marijuana. Helping medical marijuana patients. Anyway, Cannabis Industry Project, the state's legal cannabis market in California, will grow 19% annually over the next 5 years. But as state taxes rise and federal barriers remain, experts say higher prices for legal cannabis could drive buyers back to the black market. In fact, that's exactly what's happening in the United States and in Canada. What the regulated market is dealing with is onerous taxation, local bans, slow growth, and a thriving illicit market that are ultimately spiraling many toward collapse. Unfortunately, many of these dispensaries are blaming medical marijuana. Medical marijuana should be basically free or almost free. This stuff grows on trees, and THC is over-regulated. We need to remove those regulations, and that will solve the problem. From the nation's capital, licensed cannabis retailers are highly compliant with state laws refusing the sale of cannabis to minors, according to data published in the Journal of Studies on Alcohol and Drugs. A team of investigators assessed whether licensed retail cannabis facilities would sell to pseudo-underage buyers who failed to show proof of age. The researchers reported, quote, compliance with laws restricting stores to selling recreational marijuana to individuals 21 or older presenting a valid ID was high. Refusal rates exceeded those for alcohol. The authors concluded, quote, the high compliance in this study suggests that recreational marijuana stores may not be selling directly to underage youth on the premises very often. There are several explanations for the high compliance. Regulators in all the states worked with the industry, performed compliance checks, and penalized stores that failed. Store managements closely monitored store personnel and checked that they complied with age and ID regulations because licenses are valuable and revenues are sizable. The recreational marijuana industry also may want to avoid any appearance that they are selling to minors to avoid increased federal scrutiny and controls. Our next story is out of Logan, Utah. The enactment of adult marijuana regulations in Washington state is associated with the decrease in alcohol-related motor vehicle accidents in neighboring Idaho counties, according to the findings of a working paper published by the Center for Growth and Opportunity at Utah State University. The paper authored by the University of Oregon economist Benjamin Hansen, reported that the decline was most significant in those counties closest to the Washington border, but was no longer evident in counties residing 6 hours away from the border. The author concluded, quote, "These findings are consistent with increased access to marijuana leading to substitution away from alcohol to marijuana," end quote. The paper's findings are consistent with prior papers identifying a decrease in traffic accidents in Colorado following the regulation of medical cannabis, a decline which the authors attributed to the reduction in alcohol consumption. By contrast, a more recently published paper identified associations with fatal crashes. The full text of this paper, "Are Marijuana and Alcohol Substitutes Evidence from Neighboring Jurisdictions?" is available online. Our next story is out of Boulder, Colorado. The occasional use of cannabis during late adolescence is not independently associated with adverse effects on cognitive abilities in young adulthood, according to longitudinal data published in the journal Drug and Alcohol Dependence. A team of investigators affiliated with the University of Colorado at Boulder assessed the impact of cannabis use on cognition, executive function, and working memory in 856 individual twins. Cannabis consumers were compared to their non-using twins in late adolescence and then again in their early 20s. Most of the cannabis-consuming participants in the study reported occasional use of the substance, but not daily use. The authors found, quote, "little support for a causal effect of cannabis use on cognition. This conclusion is consistent with those of previous twin studies, which suggest that cannabis use does not cause a decline in cognitive ability among normative cannabis-using samples," end quote. The authors concluded, quote, "results suggest that cannabis use may not cause decline in cognitive abilities among a normative sample of cannabis users," end quote. The findings are consistent with several prior studies, which also failed to show significant changes in either cognitive performance, brain morphology, or intelligence quotient due to cannabis exposure. Specifically, a 2018 literature review published by the Journal of the American Medical Association Psychiatry concluded, quote, "associations between cannabis use and cognitive functioning in cross-sectional studies of adolescents and young adults are small and may be of questionable clinical importance for most individuals," end quote. The study investigating the causal effects of cannabis use on cognitive function with a quasi-experimental co-twin design appears in this month's edition of Drug and Alcohol Dependence. Next story is out of Seattle, Washington. The percentage of cannabidiol present in many commercially available CBD products differs from what's advertised on the label. Several labs tested 47 commercially available CBD-infused products. The products were either purchased online, at drugstore chains, or at independent grocery stores. 23% of the products possess significantly lower percentages of CBD than advertised, a finding that's consistent with prior reports. An additional 11% of the products contain no identifiable level of CBD. 15% of the products contain higher percentages of CBD than advertised. CBD-infused tinctures and edibles were most likely to possess accurate labeling. By contrast, CBD-infused capsules and water-based products were least likely to be accurately labeled. Currently, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration provides no regulatory oversight on commercially available CBD products. Our next story is from the world of sports. Major League Baseball will remove marijuana from its list of banned substances, and players who test positive for opioids, fentanyl, cocaine, and synthetic THC under newly instituted random drug tests will be referred for treatment before being disciplined, the league's updated drug policy announced yesterday. The sweeping changes, which take effect from spring training in 2020, quote, favor a treatment-based approach to drugs of abuse, end quote, according to a joint announcement from the Major League Baseball Administration and its players' union. The updated policy comes months after the shocking death of 27-year-old Los Angeles Angels pitcher Tyler Skaggs, whose autopsy showed oxycodone, fentanyl, and alcohol in his system. Major league players were not randomly tested for drugs of abuse, including opioids, unless there was reasonable cause under the previous policy. Our last story tonight is from the Miss Universe pageant, and it wasn't too long ago that the Miss Universe pageant was owned by our orange president. But now the orange president has relinquished control, and it's owned by someone else. And the pageant took place just last weekend in the national costume competition. Miss Canada decided to dress up as legal cannabis. There she is. Alyssa Boston worked with Nicaraguan designer Natafali Espinoza to create the glittery green number that even comes with a matching scepter. When Miss Boston graced the stage, the announcer explained that the outfit was meant to help discuss the end of the stigma that revolves around cannabis. When bringing her on stage, the announcement exclaims, quote, "This sparkly green costume represents the legalization of cannabis for medical purposes. This contestant wants to end the stigma that's been around since 1920. If you've got the need, you can grab legal weed in Canada," end quote, the Miss Universe pageant announcer said. You know, she looks a lot like the Green Goddess in our movie, The Green Goddess, which is out there. For more information about the Green Goddess movie, give us a call at 503-235-4606. That's 503-235-4606. We can answer your other questions regarding marijuana directly shortly after our musical interlude here. And we'll be taking your calls at 503-288-4442. That's 503-288-4442. Stand by. We'll be back with more video clips and taking calls in just a moment after the musical introduction from John Trudell. This is his song Grass Fire with pictures from our THCF medicinal garden. We'll be right back.
In between the blues, there are good days and bad days, with everything and nothing to lose. While the setting sun never sits, and the night has no limits. The void between freedom and free, dealing with the unnatural reality. A need to see, a need to be. Grass fire, my DNA needs THC.
Grass fire in a world that yearns. That's the way this fire burns. Like a grass fire.
In the unnatural society, been trying to maintain, while the sane appear to be clearly insane, with no way to explain. Outlasting the great lie, a sparking spark does my mind. Grass fire, pulling the sky, breathing in sativa's design.
Grass fire in a world that yearns. That's the way this fire burns. It's a grass fire.
void between freedom and free, dealing with the unnatural reality. A need to see, a need to be. Grassfire, my DNA needs THC. Dreaming of long times past, all that those times brought, looking to the heart of tomorrow. Grassfire in a world that yearns, that's the way this fire burns.
Okay, that was our friend, the late, great John Trudell. He passed away almost exactly 4 years ago. In fact, there was a benefit for him at the Crystal Ballroom just last week, kind of a family reunion on the 4th anniversary of his transition, as they say. So he's a great guy. Sorry he's gone. We, in fact, got a little bit of video with him a little bit later on. If you have a question or comment for us tonight, it's Friday the 13th of 2019. We're doing show 1012, and you can call in at that number there on your screen. It's 503-288-4442. That's 503-288-4442. We also have a studio audience, and studio audience members can come in. If you'd like to come in and join us in the studio, give us a call at our office. It's 503-235-4606. We'll be happy to tell you exactly how to do that. Just call us at 503-235-4606. Another frequent guest on our show is John Trudell. Oh, there's a list of conditions. If you have any of those conditions, and you think you might qualify for medical marijuana, we have a medical marijuana referral service. We can refer you to doctors all over the United States that can help you get your local medical marijuana permit so you can legally possess, use, and grow medical marijuana. If you'd like to find out more, call us at 503-235-4606. That number just popped up there on your screen. It's 503-235-4606. Another frequent guest that we have on the show is Jorge Cervantes, an internationally renowned cannabis cultivator. And he's not here live, but we have a video of his that we're going to run, and we'll be right back after this video, so stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Jorge Cervantes. Did you ever wonder where medical cannabis comes from? Come with me on a tour to some of the best medical marijuana gardens in Northern California, where you'll see the results of years of selective breeding and good old organic gardening know-how. The tour starts in Lake County and moves to gardens in Sonoma and Butte counties. Then we get a bird's eye view of the giant 10-pound plants. That's right, 10-pound plants in Humboldt County. See if you can spot the big red crosses from the air. Hold on to your seats. The medical cannabis garden tour is just getting started. It's like no other you've ever experienced. Yeah, these are huge. Next time you medicate, remember, organic, natural medicine is the best. Don't forget to pass it on.
Okay, that's our friend Jorge Cervantes with his tour. This is actually a video from 2010, so it's 9 years old, but it still is pretty impressive, isn't it? So back before recreational was legal anywhere, these were some California giants for medical patients. So pretty interesting thing there. Again, if you have any questions or comments for us tonight, you can call us at that number there on your screen. It's 288-4442. That's 288-4442. Our next video clip is from 10 years ago, from September of 2009. This is actually Jack Herer's last appearance on our show. The day after this show was taped, he gave a speech at our Hempstock Festival, and he had a massive heart attack and never spoke again after that last speech at our Hempstock Festival back in September of 2009. But the night before that show, Jack was on our show along with John Trudell, and the Alan St. Pierre, the former head of National Normal, along with Madeline Martinez and myself, of course. So stand by as we flash back to just over 10 years ago. We'll be right back. Pay a tax and, you know, don't put me in jail. But I don't want to pay a tax to grow my own. Okay. But I don't mind paying a tax on over-the-counter sales.
You know,
right. I mean, they have it on just about everything else, you know.
But the only thing you get more life out of is smoking pot.
Yeah.
2 years longer if you smoke it. But if you smoke it and eat the fucking seeds, you get 5 or 6 years longer. And if you smoke it and eat the seeds, and you have about Rick Simpson oil.
Yeah. Who knows
you
how
get
long
about
you live.
10 years. Like I can 2 years before my stroke, after my stroke. Now after 8 years after my stroke, I got the fucking energy of a guy that's 40 years old.
Right, right. So you're using Rick Simpson's oil on a regular basis?
Oh my God, morning, noon, and night.
Morning, noon, and night. All right. All right.
Testimony.
So there's been a lot of talk about how that can stop advanced cancer patients and people in 4 stages of cancer. And we've just had a couple of people like Jim over here singing about his partner and son, both who died of cancer. I know, John, you've had a close family member lost to cancer here recently.
We never paid taxes on things that extended your life, not...
Well, to criminalize something that could cure cancer.
Yeah,
it's just really amazing, you know, that they've been suppressing this stuff for 30 years. I remember the first study that showed it could stop cancer was in the 70s.
1973, 74, and 75, the Commonwealth of Virginia at Richmond proved that it stopped cancer on the skin, melanoma, in the lungs, and the kidneys, and the...
All different kinds.
And in the
brain.
And the blood things.
We have a caller here. Let's see if we can get a caller on the air. Hello, caller. Welcome to our show.
How you guys doing?
Very well. How are you?
Pretty good. I got a question for you guys. You know, with all the advertisements you see on TV and all the anti, you know, hemp and marijuana campaigns going on, I was just wondering if I can get you guys' input, what you guys really think about that, because, you know, it's to me it's annoying, and I just wanted to get your input.
I think it's a waste of public money. It's public propaganda. You know, it's misinformation.
Well, if anybody wants to see a prime example and you're near your computer, just simply type in Stoners of the Mist, and it's a $36,000 video that is such a blood libel against people who use marijuana. It's just disgusting, and we paid for it with our tax dollars. That's one. Yeah, one of there's 1,200 anti-drug ads the Partnership for Drug-Free America has created since 1986, and 90 to 95% of them are anti-marijuana. Relatively few are anti-cocaine, anti-meth, anti-heroin, Anti-pharmaceutical, almost all of them, 9 out of 10 are for marijuana.
And there's such blatant lies.
Yeah, I just don't pay any attention to them.
Yeah, well,
I mean, why give them your energy? If they don't make any sense, then to me, I don't get worked up about it. But, I mean, in the sense that because it's not an
we
immediate...
weren't putting our tax dollars into
Right.
it.
That's the horrific part.
Well,
And it's
We have
illegal.
control
But-
over that.
but
Am I
they're
right?
not really our tax
Isn't
dollars.
it illegal to
Yeah,
use our
well,
tax dollars?
I put a lot of them into
You know, if the government
It's
can
illegal
take it
to
from
use
us,
them
even in
for
the form of
propaganda
taxes, then it's
reasons.
not really ours anyway.
Yeah, yeah,
We're just a conduit that it passes through.
that might be it.
Yeah, and I mean, if you really think about it, if the government can make us pay taxes, then for us to say they're our tax dollars, actually they're not our tax dollars, because if the government could take it from us in the first place, then obviously it wasn't our money in the first place.
And I think what's even more frustrating is that they won't even let us buy airtime to rebut their propaganda.
Absolutely.
And that, I think, is even more frustrating because it doesn't matter how much money you have, they're saying, no, we're not going to sell you the time.
Well, this becomes then a matter, I think, of finding new ways to approach this thing.
Exactly.
Because you know, these are the, well, we're talking about the stuff they do, but these are the people that created the Inquisition.
Right.
You know what I mean? So for us to be surprised by anything that they would, we're not being realistic.
So that is John Trudell, Madeline Martinez, Jack Harrer, and Alan St. Pierre back in September of 2019. What I have right here, we're going to focus on with camera 2. If we can close in on those a little bit, camera 2. Let's go to the top one. No, that's going the wrong way. Let's go to the top one. Okay. And then focus, a little bit bigger. A little bit bigger. Fill up that screen there. Here we go. Okay, this is a $10 bill from 1914. In the bottom corner, you can see that the signature is from J.P. Morgan. He was the Secretary of the Treasury under 5 different presidents, and his nephew's name was Harry Anslinger, the first head of the Bureau of Narcotics, and Harry Anslinger made cannabis illegal. This 1914 version of the $10 bill has Andrew Jackson on it, and the paper that this is made of is 70% hemp or marijuana stems and 30% cotton. So it has cannabis inside it. And, you know, cannabis is right on the money as well, because right here, this is the back of the same $10 bill. On one side, we have industry. On the other side, agriculture. Can you close in just on half of this bill here, camera 2? A little bit closer, as close as you can get it there. This is actually a picture of a hemp harvest. They're baling hemp stalks, and there's hemp right there on the money, on the 1914 $10 bill. There's cannabis in the money, and there's cannabis on the money. So that's just one historic example. Let's go right down over here to this box beside me, camera 2. Down farther, it's here. We're almost there, right over here, this one. Okay, so now we have this box. These are a number of antique cannabis medicines. You can see this is a tested botanical drug. It is hemp seeds. And so this is, has essential fatty acids, or EFAs, known as gamma-linolenic acid, and omega-3, 6, and 9 in a perfect balance for human health. And so you can see on the side of it here, it says scientific controls. This was a box of hemp seeds sold as medicine about 110 years ago. Next door, we have a full bottle of cannabis indica medicine here. And this is a, as it says, a fluid extract. And yeah, close in on a little bit more so you can see that label a little better. And so it's from the American Druggist Solutions. This has a twist top. This is about 1915 to 1920. This next one over here, it has a different sort of top. It has this pistol top that's ground and goes into the top of the bottle here. And this is a prescription, and it still has some of the cannabis pills inside. This had 500 cannabis indica pills in it when it was issued. Right next door, we have Killicoff. This is cannabis and chloroform and opium, And this will kill your cough and knock you out. There's no doubt about that. This one's about half full. It's an antique bottle again. This is another cannabis medicine. This is a neuralgic medicine, and it has zinc, cannabis, and strychnine. So this would cure your neuralgic problems. Then right next to it, we have a powdered extract of cannabis from Park Davis. So this is a Park Davis bottle, and it came out of Detroit, Michigan. Right next door to it here, we have an Eli Lilly. This is solid extract of cannabis indica. And so this was like a solid hash that had been pressed that was inside this, and this little glass bottle would be sold. And right next to it, we have this one. This is a sedative. And so it has coca, extract of coca, arsenic, valerian, strychnine, cannabis indica, and codeine. So yeah, you would be pretty sedated after taking that, I think. And then this one is another cannabis indica bottle. Let's see if we can get our camera to close in on it. We got our show and tell. You know, we used to call this show and tell when I was a kid. I guess now they call it sharing, but so we'll share a little bit more. Here's another bottle. You're going to have to go up a little bit there, camera 2. And, oh, he'll close in on this one. Here we go. Another partial cannabis medicine with cannabis indica and a number of atropines in there. And then this is fluid extract of cannabis. You notice it says number 96. Eli Lilly had about 20 different cannabis concoctions. So did Park Davis. And about half of those were pure cannabis, and the other half were mixed with cannabis. Right next door, we have our hemp flame of freedom. This is hemp seed oil, a little container of hemp seed here that our sound guy has kindly cleaned off, and our hemp twine that has next week's, go out just a little bit, next week's wick on this. And then last but not least, we have hempcrete. This is the building material of the future and the past. It's coming back to buildings near you. Hempcrete, lighter and stronger than concrete. So that's the end of our sharing segment for tonight. So I want to introduce you to a very important person in the world of cannabis, one of the first people who ever wrote a book on how to grow cannabis. She wrote it back in 1971. It was called Primo Plants, and her name, we know her as Carolyn Garcia. She is also called Mountain Girl. She worked with Ken Kesey on a series of trips around the country in a psychedelic bus that Tom Wolfe captured in a novel called, or not a novel, a book called The Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test, along with Ken Kesey, Oregon's most famous author, the author of One Flew Over a Cuckoo's Nest and Sometimes a Great Notion, famous wrestler from down at the University of Oregon, and a writer who was schooled at Stanford University. And after winning a Pulitzer Prize, he was arrested for marijuana. And this is a video from the local San Francisco News just as he was released with Mountain Girl in 1966. We'll be right back.
It is a perilous society if you don't look a certain way. I noticed the people in the tank that I was in there. There were 4 transvestites, a couple of guys with hair to their shoulders. If you just look at the bare bones of it, they're not arresting you guys. It may be because you're not doing anything wrong, but it may also be because you're not getting caught at it. I feel like you only come to this movie once, and if you don't get something rewarding out of every minute you're sitting there, then you're blowing your ticket.
Carolyn, how did this experience affect you?
Oh, I'm tired of it all. Are you glad it happened?
I'm not glad it happened, but I'm not sorry about it particularly. I mean, I'm not weeping with remorse.
Mr. Kesey, do you feel that you have the right to do what you want, whatever you want, and still live in this world?
I feel that a man has the right to be as big as he feels it in him to be.
So that is Ken Kesey and Carolyn Mountain Girl, now known as Garcia, after she married Jerry Garcia. She had a child there with Ken Kesey and then also with Jerry Garcia, and lives on Ken Kesey's property in the Kesey family farm down outside Springfield, Oregon. We have some more videos with Mountain Girl that are much more recent, but we have a phone call. Welcome to the show, caller.
Hey, Paul, it's Judy. I don't know if, can you hear me? There was buzzing on the line.
I can hear you.
Okie dokie. Thanks for a great show. We're here with the flu, taking our cannabis, it's saving our bacon. I was fascinated by a comment that you made during the terrific news report, and it was in passing almost that medical patients are being blamed for the problems in the industry.
Yes.
I wondered if you would elaborate a little bit, since I'm beside myself trying to figure out how to motivate medical patients to participate and how to get things changed, because they've just, everybody knows they've steamrolled over us.
Well, exactly. That's exactly what they've done. So down at the legislature, the people with the money are the ones who call the shots, and the police and the dispensary owners are the primary ones advising the legislature about medical cannabis. Medical patients aren't really there, and they aren't listening to our Oregon Cannabis Commission. So they've continued to increase the cost. There's a new rule that goes into effect on the 1st of January. The Oregon Medical Marijuana Program is supposed to come out with a new form, and now all patients have to get permission from their landlord to be able to grow their medical marijuana crops. So you've got to certify that the land owner has given you permission, or get a certificate from. If you don't own your own property, you've got to get a sign-off from your property owner or leaseholder. And so this is just another way, by driving up the cost. Our fees here in Oregon are now in excess of $400 a year for a patient to register with a caregiver. In other states like Hawaii, $35 the first year, $10 a year after that. Montana, $25 the first year, $15 a year after that. In Oregon, $400 a year. What's wrong with this picture? It's because the people with the money are going to the legislature and over-regulating cannabis. And these taxes are driving people and patients to the black market. And that's my take on that. So we have another video here with Mountain Girl, Carolyn Garcia, that is just from a couple weeks ago. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
I think when young people grow up and reach their adulthood and they start to think about who they are, that those long questions start to occur sometime in your teenage years. Like, what am I? What am I? How did I get to this planet? Why am I a human being? I think these are essential questions for the questioning mind. And somehow cannabis hooks in with all of this. It helps you find those questions in a way. And these are part of the greater conversation around cannabis. Why do we like it so much? Why does it create friendships? Why does it bring people together? Because it does. But it does it in a non-violent and helpful way. Its competitors out there may not be so friendly. But in our space, in my family space, it's been an incredibly valuable friend.
So again, that's Carolyn Garcia, Mountain Girl, and she's working in Eugene these days, and has botanical CBD and other products. But we have another little clip from Carolyn that was filmed back in October. We'll be right back after this other video. Stay tuned.
So I'm truly thankful for this plant, for creating a new community, and new communities are being created around it all the time. As people come together to work with this plant, it's making families, it's making relationships stronger. It's a sort of a healer of social discomfort. And I'm very grateful that I have the friends that I have met in the cannabis community, and going way back to when I was a very young person, a teenager. I met the people that are still my dearest friends, and it was mostly because we smoked together. And now with the CBD business, I see a whole nother fabric opening up here, people who need medicine, and we can supply it. We can supply it to them, and we want to. We want to help. And this plant is a helping plant. And when I see these signs at the dispensaries with the green cross, I guess, yes, that's right, green cross. That's where we want to be. It's an important symbol for the cannabis medicine.
Okay, that's Carolyn Garcia. I was honored back at the Seattle Hemp Fest in August to be on a panel in the Hemposium with Carolyn Garcia. The panel was called Listening to the Elders. I am now an elder, I suppose, and so I think we have some pictures. Let's see if we can pop those here on the screen. Maybe. But this is with Carolyn Garcia at the Seattle Hemp Fest. There's one. We were sharing a little something backstage there. That's also with Leland Berger and Don Wirtschafter. And here is the panel listening to the elders. There we are at the Seattle Hemp Fest. We got another picture here. This Carolyn Garcia was in our office, and she picked up a hemp stalk and acted like she was going to hit Mike Bix with that. And you can see that Elvie Masica was amazed. I couldn't have set this picture up better if I had tried. I didn't try. I just happened to snap it at just the right moment. But there's Carolyn Garcia with looking like she's attacking him with the hemp stalk. And I think there's one more photo there, just sharing the vapor bag. So that's Carolyn Garcia at the office and from the Seattle Hemp Fest, and a couple of videos just talking about her. She actually wrote one of the first marijuana growing guides called Primo Plant, and there is a 20-minute interview with her on our website if you want to see that. We have another video now that we're going to run. This is Dr. Todd McArea. Dr. Todd McArea was the first modern medical marijuana doctor. He helped pass California's Prop 215 in 1996, and here he is at the Portland Hemp Stock Festival. We'll be right back after this.
1959, many years ago, I was a sophomore in medical school, and I was smitten by an inappropriate stroke of curiosity when I read a selection in a textbook called Goodman and Gilman about cannabis, which whetted my curiosity because it was prohibited, but medically it sounded as if it was pretty benign. This curiosity led me to read everything in the medical school library, and then eventually permitted me to infiltrate to the heart of the beast, the National Institute of Mental Health, where I was hired as a research psychiatrist to study cannabis. At this time, cannabis was seen as a real threat to society because in 1967, when I was there, all hell was breaking loose with Lyndon B. Johnson trying to keep up the pretext of patriotism as he moved forward on the war in Vietnam. And the anti-war demonstrations were just tremendous in scope. I just wish we would see these kinds of protests again. But marijuana was seen as something dangerous that was being adopted by subversive organizations like California Communes. and they saw the end of civilization coming near because the legal governance was breaking down as they sent more and more young men off to be killed in Vietnam. Unfortunately, I came out to California.
So that is Dr. Todd Micarea. He was the first medical marijuana doctor in California. He worked on the first marijuana vote in 1972. He passed away about 10 years ago. Before he passed away, he sold his medical cannabis business to me, and I ran that for about 6 months before selling it back to his sister. But it's a great honor to be associated with Dr. Todd Micarea. Anyway, that's the end of our hemp news segment, our hemp show, Cannabis Common Sense. We're going to go out on some music from our friend John Cornette. If you want more information about medical marijuana, industrial hemp, or marijuana in general, or you have any of these conditions from chronic pain and cancer to gastrointestinal ailments and neurological problems, then give us a call. We have a physician referral service. We can help you find a doctor anywhere in the country. Call us here in Portland at 503-235-4606. That's 503-235-4606. Next week, we will be back with Lanny Swerdlow as our guest. Lanny helped start this show back in 1996. Last week, I was mistaken and thought he would be here this week. He'll actually be here next week on December 20th, which will be our last live show of the year. So tune in next week. Here's Mr. John Cornette, and help restore hemp. Good night.
Now is the time. Time is now. To tell the truth. Woo! To hear the truth. To know the truth. To know the truth. Corporations, governments are rarely ever innocent. Dissension is the only way, and live to see another day. Sound the alarm, investigate. Sound the alarm, re-educate. Now is the time for the truth. Whoa, whoa. Now is the time. Whoa, whoa. Now is the time. Time is now. To speak the truth. Speak it. To seek the truth.